still the National Project Management Conference here at the Royal Senchi. Actually an old boy of this game, just to keep it very simple. He is a PMI fellow. Dr. Adoko, I know you're playing with the word. And also founder of the Project Management Professional Certification. Please, a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Lee R. Lambert. Now, Mr. Lambert will be talking about the future of Ghana, the role of the project manager, and the PMP certification. Over to you.
Okay, that sounded like my LinkedIn crew. That's good. I don't mind that at all. I appreciate being here today. I slept through some very good presentations earlier today. And I just want the person to know that I did catch some of it, and it was really, really good. All right, I want to talk to you about, I've had some conversations with people during the day. Let me give you a little background for those of you who don't know me. I've been in the business of project management for 55 years. Yeah, I know, I'm an old guy. So I started it in 1966 with General Electric. And I've really progressed through the chain. I stopped when I got to vice president because what I found was the president was going to do whatever he or she wanted, whether I advised him or not. It kind of got boring after a bit. So I went to a counselor to see where I should go. Where do I move next in my career? And I found one that was a very, very popular counselor. And so I went into her and I said, listen, I'm at a point in my career where I think I need to make a major change. And you have a great reputation, so I'd like to have you help me out. She said, oh, that's great. I'd love to have you as a client. She said, you'll have to wait about 6 months. I'm pretty busy. I said, yeah, well, I know you're busy, but I wasn't thinking 6 months. I was thinking 6 days, maybe, not 6 months. She said, no. She said, I have to take people in priority order, you see. And so she said, if you really want to have me do it, you got to come back 6 months and take some time and get some objectives. And I said, wait a minute, objectives, what do you mean? Well, what do you want to accomplish? Oh, I said, well, hell, I thought of that already. I got a couple of them right now. We can go ahead and start. She said, well, all right, what do you got? And I said, well, first of all, in fact, this is very important to me, I don't want to work. She kind of looked at me a little bit strange, and she said, not at all? I said, well, if I have to do a little of that, I will, but I don't want to get involved too much. And she said, okay, what, you got another? You said you had two that right away came to your mind. I said, yeah, this one might throw you a little bit. I want to make a hell of a lot of money. And she said, well, I can see, wait a minute. She said, let's recap. Now, if any of you have ever gone to a psychologist, when they say let's recap, that means you've stumped them. So they're buying some time. So she said, let's recap. She said, first of all, you don't want to work. I said, that's correct. That's correct. And second of all, you want to make a lot of money. I said, damn, you are good. You are very, that's almost exactly what I said. But I waited the 6 months, okay? Because I really wanted to get involved with this. So at the end of 6 months, I literally ran to her office to see what it was she had come up with. She said, well, you didn't want to work, you want to make a lot of money. She said, the only thing I can come up with is project management training. It worked. It worked big time. I've trained 50,000 people. 50,000, yeah, let's hear it. 50,000, and that's in 23 countries. So I made trips around, but I got involved with Africa because of George. There's no question about that. I called him up and said, what do you think about doing some chapters in Africa. He said, hell, the next thing I had a whole tour. I'm going through I'm on my 7th or 8th country now. Plan to do more, be in Kenya, be in Zambia. I love Africa. I mean, I know that's probably weird for a guy like me, because I saw all the speakers in the work that Frank put out. I was the only one that really stood out. Everybody else looked kind of the same to me. So I've been pitching for the Ghana thing, mainly because every chapter I've gone to has great things to say about Ghana. And I thought, well, hell, I got to see what this is all about. And so I'm real glad to be here today. I want to give you some insights, just even some conversation we had out in the driveway. When we started this idea of certification, it started in 1981. And I got a letter of invitation to participate as one of the 5. There are 5 of us that put this together. Now, there's 1.5 million PMPs right now, okay? 1.5 million. But there are 5 of us that put it together. Sadly, 4 of them are dead. And they were all younger than I. So I'm a little concerned right now that I'm limited time. So I got involved with it. It was a very comprehensive effort. It took 3 years for us to get that put together. We went live with it in 1984, and we had 55 people sign up to take it. You could only take it at the symposium, which was once a year in those days. It wasn't called the summit, the global summit. That's a big name, but the same things happen there. It's a great meeting. And so 39 passed out of 55. That percentage is not madly exciting. But it turned out that neither was the program. We thought it would help our membership. We said you got to be a member to take the test. So we thought, well, that'll ramp up the coordination of all the efforts that we're doing. And we had gotten that directly from other professional organizations, that the one way to get people to commit and stay committed is have a professional certification for them to hang their hat on. So that was really the basis that we did that. Well, after 10 years, there were 6,000. Now, I mean, maybe 6,000 sounds like a lot, but not in 10 years. And in 10 years, so we grouped out and said, what's going on? We decided one of the reasons was that we were requiring PMI membership to take the exam, and there were a lot of people that they didn't see any reason to do that, and so therefore they didn't sign up, okay? So at the 10th year, we said, well, look, we need to change that. We need to open this up to anybody in the world who wants to be recognized as a certified project manager. And it did better. It did better. But the year later, after 96, so 97 was the year that the world changed for the PMI people and the PMP exam portion. And that's when IBM, Motorola, AT&T, you name a major corporation in America, they adopted the PMP as their certification method. Numbers went vertical. So for the next series of years, we're doubling. It's sort of like your salary did. Yeah, right. Yeah. So we were happy with that, and the numbers started coming in, and what that means, of course, to PMI is money to operate on, money to do things they couldn't do before. So a lot of people, including me, by the way, in the older days, which is like 4 years ago, we're always complaining about PMI. All it is make money. Everything costs money. And I bitched a lot about that too. But it turns out, now that I'm doing some things with PMI, I've been exposed to how much it costs to run that organization. Now that we're global, it's a huge, huge commitment. So one of the things that our new guy Pierre. You know Pierre? Has he been here? No, he'll be here. He's making the rounds. He's a good guy. Pierre Lemont. Pierre Lemont. You got to say he's French. He's French, okay? How that ever happened, I don't know. But he's French. And so, and he's a little guy. He's only about that tall. And so, he's really looked at the organization in his first 6 months and really found some things that need to be fixed. He's fixing them, and he's reintegrating with the platform of long-term objectives. One of the things, which is good news for me, is that he's re-endorsed the PMP. Over the last few years, we've decided we're going to do some different things because, gosh, all we got is PMP, and so we came up with some of these other certifications, some of these micro-certs. Have you heard of those? Micro-certs, yeah, that's a big waste of time too. But we're doing some of those, and we're going to see how all that works out. They've got a couple that are good, and I, what's that one developer? Something developer, where you learn how to do programming without being a programmer. And I when that first came out, I have, by the way, my career, 55 plus years, I have one certification. Just one. And that's the same amount of books I've read about project management. I've got 350 books, and they're in my library, but I don't read them. I don't read them. I get them sent to me to endorse them. So they buy my endorsement by giving me a book. A lot of them were mad they did that because they didn't get an endorsement. And the reason I know is I can read through 10 pages of a book and tell you right now if it's any good or not. I think our tests are the same way. We take the test, 200 questions. I think, and I've talked to some professionals in the area, I think we can have a 25-question test and get the same result. If you ask the right questions, you'll know when they're PMP or not. Okay, so we're doing that. We're spending some time and effort. I don't get near what I'm worth to do this. In fact, I get nothing. I get nothing. And the reason I get nothing is because I absolutely love this profession. And some of you are doing okay. And some of you still need to hear what I've got to say today, okay? So it's important to think that, keep that in mind. I have, this year, I will probably visit about 30 countries. And my message, the reason I don't use slides is because then it ties me down to what I'm going to say. I go with the flow of the meeting. As I've tried to talk to enough people, I kind of got an understanding of what's going on here. So I want to get to that right now. First of all, the PMP was intended to prove to the world that project management is a career path. One of the problems we had in those days is everybody thought it was a hobby. So you did it in your spare time. Like if you're an engineer, you do your engineering job, and then they'd say, oh, by the way, can you take care of this project management stuff for us? That's a hobby. And what that ended up doing is costing you extra time. You're working hours after hours. And so we said, we need to turn this into a profession. So when we started in '69 with the PMI organization, there were 5 guys, something about 5 guys, and 4 of them are dead. So there's only one of them alive, and he's got his foot in the grave. He's not doing very well health-wise. Jim Snyder, some of you may know him. He's not doing well. So we're hoping that he makes a comeback. So we put that into play. People laughed at us. People said it's not a profession. It's not a profession. So, well, guess what? When you get 1.5 million people saying they're a profession, then they're a profession. And that's what we've got to do, but there's more to it than the certification. I have this difficulty getting this message across. What you have to remember is when you, how many of you are PMPs? Just show me by raise your hand. PMPs. Okay, nice, that's nice. Ghana's got a good record. They're 67% PMPs. 1,000 out of 1,500, roughly. I'm roughing the numbers. That's impressive. That's impressive. Now, the next question is, how many of you act like PMPs? I think that's a more important question. And what I'm kind of getting across to you is that everything that you've learned in the preparation for the certification exam is what you should be translating to applied reality. Once you get, the problem is that I find is that most people that take that PMP exam think that's it, man, done. I got to tell you, the PMP is the beginning of your journey, not the end. And what that means is, if you don't apply it as you learned it to pass the exam, then you're really not a PMP. And so what's the factor? Well, the factor that happens with a lot of us is that our bosses really don't want a PMP. They act like they do, they say they do, and then you get a PMP and say, well, what about this prioritization? We don't do that. We don't do prioritization. We've been doing this for 10 years. We don't need your help. We can overrun these projects without your help. And that's what they do. They overrun projects, they go too long, they deliver the wrong product, and mostly because we didn't really do what PMP taught us to do. We didn't do to identify charters, we didn't do the identification of budget representation. You got to remember, this is some simple math, okay? You got budget for 10 projects. In the annual planning project, you plan 20 projects and wonder why none of them get done on time. What the hell's wrong with these people? They don't understand. And so you've got to recognize another thing that we do badly, and that ties into this, is that every project we do is behind schedule the day it starts. Yeah, that's right. When they say, we got an opportunity for you, run! Run, because here's the thing. One of the planning techniques that we've tried to teach you is that we don't plan in effort hours. We plan in duration hours. Now, if that's foreign to you, let me give you just a quick synopsis of that. Let's say we're in a matrix environment. Many of your organizations run a matrix environment, I'm told. You're in a matrix environment. And somebody says, well, I need an engineer. Let's call him Bob. I need an engineer. They said, okay, no problem. Here he is. I give you Bob out of his functional organization, okay? Give you the Bob. Oh, nice. Is that a call for me? So they give me Bob for my project, okay? Now, the next line manager who's got a project, he needs a project engineer, and he wants Bob. So the guy says, okay, you got Bob. Okay, so now we got Bob double committed, okay? Each one 8 hours. Each one 8 hours. Well, unless I'm sure this group is, everybody in this room looks really, really bright. A little dim back there in the corner, but the rest of the place looks good. So if you look at this, you got to understand, Bob can't be in two places at the same time. So when we plan them 8 hours on this project and 8 hours on that project, technically all they're going to get is 4 and 4. And you plan everybody in your functional organization, every matrix person in your organization is overcommitted. If you were able to run a summary of all the commitments, which you could do with Microsoft Project in a heartbeat, you'd find right away you're way overcommitted. Way overcommitted, and yet we still do it. Projects still finish late, and nobody can figure out why. So the project management professional, so when we look at that, you've got to recognize as a PMP, I know this stuff. This is not, I'm not sharing news with you. You know this. When you see that going on, you've got to truncate it. Because all you're going to do is continue to deliver projects late. And when you deliver projects late, who gets blamed? The project manager. I mean, that's one of the reasons they put you in there, so I have somebody to blame. So you got to realize that if you're a project manager, if you're a certified project manager, then you got to act like one. And you got to start throwing roadblocks in front of those matrix people, saying, look, if we plan it this way, every project's going to be late. And they don't necessarily, in fact, no, that's not, they don't do very well with that thought, because it really messes up their planning. Because when they're all done, here's the question they have to answer. Do I want the project now? Do I want the project based on the correct amount of planning? And guess what that means? More resources. Don't have enough resources to do all those projects at the same time. And so now you got to face a decision. Well, let's just let them go. Let's do it the way we've been doing it all along. So now they're going to be a year. I heard numbers out in the driveway today that shocked me. Projects that are going to be 1 year end up being 5 years. 5 years late. Come on, are you kidding me? And then when you talk to them about efficiency, well, look here, you're delivering this particular product. We can show you a way to deliver it much more economically and deliver the same or better product. Why would you not listen to that? Good question. So now people are starting to listen. One of the things that a bad economy does for us is get people to start to focus. If they're coming in late, they're coming in over budget, they're not delivering what the customer wants, all of a sudden they know if I don't pay attention to this, we might not have an opportunity to continue. And so the PMP becomes the focus for that, because when I go around the world looking at job applications, and I see a lot of them in a lot of different languages, but I can figure out some of the things. About 80% of the jobs being filled are PMP required jobs. So the community has figured out the importance of the PMP. It's just that the companies haven't. And you've got to realize that if we don't show value, that's the big tune this year, is the value. What are we going to add in the way of value? And that's an important question. So when you get 80% of the people looking for that, then what happens to the other people that don't have certifications? Those of you who don't have a certification, here's my question to you. What the hell's the problem? You know, it's not a big deal. It's a little exam. Just a little exam. And you just, you got 4 hours to take the exam. Well, 200 questions. I don't see the problem. I really don't. What I've found with some of the audiences in Africa is that they're signed up. They're already got their prep stuff done, but they're not taking the exam. What the hell? Why would you go to all that trouble if you're not going to take the exam? And so what I found out was they don't want to risk failing, because all of you will make fun of them. So I'm trying to get people to understand it's not that bad. It's hard. Is it hard? Yeah, damn right it's hard. Anything worth having is going to be difficult to get. Even when I took it, now I couldn't take it for 10 years. They prevented us from taking it for 10 years. Finally, on the 10th year, I got a letter from PMI saying you're eligible now to take the exam. It's 10 years later. I'm thinking, hell, I don't remember anything. That's 10 years ago. And so there ended up being about 12 people that got that letter. And so I went to my wife, By the way, my wife has made all this possible. I gave credit to George, that was unfair. My wife passed away about 3 years ago, and man, I haven't been home since. I'm traveling the world, doing what I wished I could have done earlier. I took the exam in 1996, okay? And that's how I know 6,000, because my number is 6,018. I went to my wife that day, and I said, look at this letter I got from PMI. I said, it's okay for you to take the test. I said, what do you think? Should I take it? She said, you're crazy if you don't. If you're one of the guys that started and you don't have it, that's not going to look good. I said, okay, so I'll study. So I studied for 2 or 3 hours and took the test with a group of AT&T people down in Altamont Springs, Florida. Back then it was 320 questions. And yeah, you had all day to do it, 4 in the morning, 4 in the afternoon, 8 body of knowledge areas, okay? So I was apprehensive about it, but I had to do it. So I went down there, took the test. I got 100%. 100%, yeah, believe it. Let's have a hand for 100%. Yeah, that's a damn lie. That's a lie. I do know I passed. And that's all you all get to know too. Okay? So those of you who say, oh, well, I want to see which ones, you ain't going to see them. It's not going to happen. Because next thing we know, that's out in the public and everybody's got copies of it. So we've got to take very tight rein on it. So that was my example and how we've morphed from 320 questions, 8 body of knowledge areas, to 200 questions and a more general coverage, especially with PMBOK 7, going to the principle-based. I think, I was one of the first ones to review the new PMBOK. I think it's great. And we've been using process groups since beginning of time. It really gives you much more freedom in determining how would you do it as opposed to how PMI or anybody else says you should do it. So it's kind of important to understand that. I think the other thing you have to recognize is just because it's in the PMBOK doesn't mean you should be using it. It depends. I've always said common sense is the basis for our profession. And if we've got something that we run up against that's not common sense, don't do it just because it says somewhere. Do what you know to be true to the profession. And that's why the principle base gives you a lot more freedom in how you execute. We hope that that's going to result in people being much more articulate about the applications of that program. So we're constantly looking at, now one of the big questions is, how do we account for those people that are further back in history before anybody even knew what the hell Agile was? Because now it's, depending on who you talk to, 50% Agile, some say 70% Agile, it doesn't matter. Agile, when Agile first came out, I was against Agile, but now I really am. No, I'm not. I think Agile's a good deal. If you use it on the right projects. You use it on the wrong projects, you got a mess. And so you really have to understand, and the reason I say that is because I'm obviously a predictive waterfall kind of guy, that's me. And that's what I've always grew up on, that's what I liked. And so when Agile came out, now I'm from Utah, and the big book for, what's it called? Agile Manifesto. The Manifesto, I think Charles Manson wrote one of those too. The Manifesto was written in Park City, Utah, by 13 programming specialists, okay? Now, I'm from Utah, and I happened to be in Park City when this was going on, and I'll tell you what, those guys could drink. They were, it was a pretty typical PMI adventure, a little fun and less work. And so they put it out, I got it, I thought, what's the big deal? Went through it, And it's basically waterfall or predictive with some new terms. If you really analyze it, it is. They've got some good things, don't get me wrong. But I analyzed it and I said, look, well, the first thing I wanted to make sure was, you know, we use something called a WBS. You heard of that? Yeah, that's, if you don't know that, get out. Okay, so we got the WBS. So when I talk to them about Agile, that's their kind of their stories. Sometimes they're called their sprints, but it's basically a piece of work, short term, that needs to be done. Okay, so that's good. Just a term difference, no problem. Now, the other thing that got me was when we get a project done, when we waterfall people get a project done, what do? No, listen, I can't have everybody at once. It's got to be a little bit more decorum than that. Well, here's what we do. We do a learning curve analysis. We go, what did we learn from this project? Well, Agile, they didn't like that term. That term was boring. And so what do they call it? Retrospective. That's, who said that? Very good. Now stand up. Stand up. Please. There you go. Give her a hand now. Perfect. Give her a hand. All right. So they do retrospectives, and you start to go through the Agile terminology, and you'll find, well, gosh, there's really the same thing. And so the thing that they've done for us that I think is a very positive thing is cause us to look at project status much more often. And the theory being that if we catch something that's inconsistent early, we can fix it. Where with predictive, oftentimes we'd be 3/4 the way through the project before we picked up on it. So I think there's some advantages. I think it's caused some problems for the PMP. Some people have complained it's too much Agile. But, you know, Agile's taken over the world. It's everywhere. And so we're finding that we've got to come along with the rest of the world and begin to use it more often. But unfortunately, they're trying to use it on things they shouldn't use it on, like building a building. Oh yeah, that's definitely an Agile project. Each level of bricks, we can stop, check it out, run around about it. No. How about putting a road down? Speaking of that, I drove from the airport to here. When the hell are they going to put that road down? That's the worst road I ever drove on. I thought Zambia had bad roads. That's bad. Yeah, that's a bad road. So we're looking at making sure that people understand when you have your PMP, it means you could go either way. Okay? There used to be a term for that. I can't. AC/DC. You could go either way because you know the knowledge. Now that's what people, when we first got the Agile incorporated, people started calling me. They always call me. They always call me. So I'm going to say I died. Then I won't have to worry about it. And they always call me, and the first thing they said, these are PMP guys, the first thing they said is, well, now what the heck? I just spent all this time and effort and money to get my PMP, and now you're saying we don't need project managers, we need Scrum Masters, whatever that is. And so they were angry. They said, well, now what do I do for a career? So this is an issue that project managers have to deal with, because in Agile there is no such thing as a project manager. And so the project manager has to look at where can I add value to the organization performing in an Agile-based environment. And when you stop and look at that, there's plenty of opportunities to add value. It's not a coming down to go from a project manager to a Scrum Master to some other role in the Agile application. So I think we need to understand that and understand how we go about it. But we are going to try to upgrade. Now I'm speaking out of school because I don't know if I want them to upgrade the PMP in some way that we can pick up those early PMPs? That I could have you come to me with your PMP certified, I got the proof, and you could be the totally wrong person for my job. Because when you got your PMP, nobody knew about Agile. Nobody knew about that other stuff. Here's my problem. I think somehow, for the credibility of the concept, we need to bring those early adopters into the system by including the Agile problem. And we're not doing that. We're not doing that. I mean, we can't go ask people to take it over. You know who's got it again? Get right here, who's got the PMP? Right here, come on. No, they're thinking, God, do I have it? Okay, so how would you feel if I came to you and said, you need to take that over? Yeah, nobody's going to want to take it over. I wouldn't take it over. Are you kidding me? And so that's the battle we have right now, because your PMP without the understanding of the Agile concept is not truly a full-service project manager. Now, people will argue there's no project manager in Agile, so what's the problem? Well, come on. We know what people do, and they're in charge of the projects. So that's something that we're trying to get accomplished in the next year or so. Next thing that we've got coming on that I'll mention, and I don't know a lot about it because I haven't worked with the guy yet, is a big emphasis on lean. So you're going to start to see that come up. And I went to look at what's the difference between lean and project management. Project management is a facilitator of lean. They're not independent one from another. And so I don't think it's going to be a problem for us. But we'll see. Every time we introduce a new concept, it makes it more difficult, okay? Yeah, any question? That's all. Let me tell you, that's all. The reason it's all is because they cut me off. And it's, I got out what I wanted to get out. I always have to be careful that I'm not getting what I want out and not getting what the audience wants out. So we have about an hour for questions. So anybody got a question for me? Oh, this is awesome. No questions. Oh, we got a mic. Yeah, you got it?
Hello? Yeah, Lee, great to sit in your class. I appreciate the session. My name is Bernard Osudanko. I work with the Electricity Company of Ghana Limited. My question is, there's been a lot of talk about AI in our environment as project managers. How important do you think we could make use of, this particular subject that PMI has drummed into us a lot, power skills, to be able to leverage or maybe go above the curve? Because my understanding with AI is we who put whatever AI is together. We are the ones, it is humans who do the coding, who do the programming, so AI can perform as it is performing. So if we are able to leverage our power skills, which might include programming and coding,
sure.
Do you think sustainability job-wise we are good?
Yeah, that's a good question. I could have planted that question because it's one that comes up all the time. Now, I wrote a chapter in a book, Peter Taylor. It's called The Lazy Project Manager, if you've seen Peter's work. He asked me to write a chapter in his book about AI, about the impact on the project management world, okay? And so I had a chance to try to look at that. AI has been around a long time. People that say it's new, wake up, smell the coffee. It's been around a long time, and we're just now starting to see beneficial applications, okay? To me, if I just isolate on project management, not all the other stuff, project management, the key with AI is I can forecast what the future looks like based on the past. And it's going to be much more accurate than anything I can do by hand. I can do the same thing by a computer, take about 4 times longer. When I was at General Electric, one of my jobs was every monthly status was to project where the project was going to end in the next 2 years. Well, with AI, boom, you can do that in seconds. The key is, and I think someone said this in an earlier presentation, the key is the quality of the data that you have. The historical quality of the data has to be there. If it's not, you just got another artificial input. So there's lots of ways to use AI, okay? And I think it's important that we understand that. Finally, the big wigs, like people like Ricardo Vargas, a couple of others that work with him, are talking a lot about AI, and I think what they're saying is fine. I have no problem with it. The thing that's going to be a problem is ChatGPT. That is going to be a problem because you can do work and make it look like you're smart and never do any. And hell, I thought I was the only one that did that. So you can start to see ChatGPT. I've fooled around with that too. I'm doing a special in Houston at the end of August dealing with a ChatGPT guy. So we're going to have kind of a war of words, I think. It's going to be fun. But I think that also, when used correctly, can add a lot of value. Can save you a lot of time. I think the beauty of it is it can save you time. By the way, it doesn't give you the total answer. It gives you an answer that you need to modify to your application. So it's not going to keep you from doing work. You're still going to, it just truncates some of that front end stuff. So instead of working 5 weeks to get where to start, now I can do it in 2 days or 2 hours and then start changing what it is that they give out. Not a problem at all. Okay, any other questions?
Any other question? Yes.
Infuse the agile into the PIM book so that as the practitioners, as we learn the book, we have to learn the PIM book and then learn the agile book as well.
Okay, that's a good question. I think I've already answered it, but I'll answer it again. Well, it's already about 70%. So that's something they thought about a long time ago because of the Agile becoming so popular. They began to integrate this about 4 years ago, and so it's all integrated. Nothing to do there.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please a huge round of applause. Lee Lambert. And please another huge round of applause. Another huge round of applause.